Vikings fans? Welcome into another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer. We're talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. Skol. Oh, that was good. I think I'm too self-conscious about
We got better.
our scolding because I think we've always had great ones until I started thinking about it.
Just don't overthink it.
All right, I'll try not to.
Just got to make adjustments.
Go get it energized. Totally bluffed that one up.
That's all right.
How I Met Your Mother.
It's a good reference.
It is.
One that we make quite often.
Yeah.
Something we don't do quite often is drink a beer like this, though.
Yeah. Something we don't do ever is drink sours. And that's what we have tonight. Courtesy of my wife, Miranda, was at Green Tree Brewery, Brewco establishment, Green Tree in LeClaire, Iowa.
Yep.
And she was there with a friend and saw this beer and just based off the name, thought it would be hilarious to make us try it on the podcast. So joke's on her. We are trying it, and it's not bad. The name of the beer is Blueberry Graham Smacker. And I joked that she tried to smack us in the face with this smacker. And it is a sour.
Yep.
It is a fruity sour.
Yep.
It is not in my wheelhouse of beers that I typically go for.
Nor is it mine.
It's also not bad.
I would agree.
It's not my favorite, and it's not one that I'm going to go to all the time. But, and we talked about this on the TikTok, I said, if you are someone who enjoys a sour that's not like a super puckery, like, make you look like you're eating a warhead, but is fruity and a little refreshing. I mean, it's refreshing. If you enjoy that, especially blueberries, you're going to like this one. I don't mind blueberries, but I'm not much of a sour guy. I don't hate it. I'm not going to go to the well time and time again. I wouldn't be angry if somebody hated me one.
The one redeeming quality, even though we haven't really given it a negative review, is it's purple.
It is purple.
Because it is a blueberry beer. So I like that. And I'm with you. Sours, blueberry sours, any sour really, is not something that I'm going to reach for, just kind of based on my beer preferences. My wife loves sours.
Ooh.
And she always asks me to pick up a sour for her. She might want to try this, actually.
Yeah. You should do a mid-episode review.
We could summon her, see if she'll come down and give her...
I'm on board if she's on board.
Yeah, I'll text her here in a little bit. We'll see what she's up for. But anyways, of all the sours I've tried, because I try most of the ones that I get for her, whether we're out somewhere or if I pick up, a 6-pack from the store or whatever, I try them. And
sure, most
of the time, I make the face that she makes when she tries whiskey, which is that. And I don't like sours for the most part. Yeah. They're vinegary. They're tart. I don't know. I just don't like them. But this is drinkable. Yes. This is good.
When we cracked it open, you immediately were like, "Oh yeah, I can smell that vinegary smell." But and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not I smelled what you were smelling, the vinegary souriness. Yep. But as far as actually tasting it, I'm not getting that. Like, it's just fruity, refreshing. It's a sour. There's no mistake about that. But it's not like the offensive, warhead flavor, vinegary, puckery, intense sour flavor. It's refreshing and good.
It's good. We have had one other sour on the show.
The Cobbler Gobbler.
And I think one key difference between that and this is the Cobbler Gobbler had lactose in it.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of mellowed things out a little bit and made it a little more up our alley, which is why I think we liked it so much. This doesn't have that. And it's not bad. It's not that we're giving this a horribly negative review. Yeah. But I can definitely tell the difference between a sour with lactose and a sour without.
Yeah, so that is a good point. The only sour I think I've found that I actually like wholeheartedly enjoy, and I wish I knew the name of it, but I know it's made by Big Grove, and for all I know, they made it once. It's like a one-off, but it tasted exactly like a margarita. And it had to be, I think at most it's a seasonal one.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. I think We've had it before too.
Yeah, that's the only sour. Because I mean, if you handed it to me and said, "Here's a margarita," I'd be like, "Oh, thanks," and never know the difference. Like, so yeah, if you like blueberries and you like sours, this is a good one. I like the River Bottom X or the River Bottom Red, whatever they were calling it from Green Tree, the last one of their beers that we had.
Yep,
I like that one a lot better. But I mean, Green Tree is not bad at making beverages. So,
and this one packs a little bit of a punch at 6.8%.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I would maybe only stick with a few of these.
Yeah, that's probably smart. Always, drink in moderation.
Yeah, good stuff. It was a pretty heavy hitting day in the NFL.
Yeah.
Pretty big day.
First day of your spring break and first day of negotiation period in the NFL. Free agency technically starts on Wednesday, and we're recording this on Monday. And today was the first day people could negotiate, and all kinds of deals are announced but can't be physically signed yet. Biggest news, can't bury the lead, Kirk Cousins, a former Viking.
Yep, that is the big news, and it was the news that everybody was waiting for.
Yeah.
I mean, even some of the biggest pundits out there, Diana Rossini, I think, had the most famous tweet, or the most retweeted, quoted tweet, whatever, however you want to say that. She basically just said everything hinges on this one decision. Even teams that don't need a quarterback want to know what's happening with Kirk Cousins. I mean, everybody, I think NFL fans anywhere, Vikings fans, Falcons fans, or not, they just wanted to know what's going to happen. He's a really good guy. He is now not just football famous, but has a documentary,
the Netflix quarterback series.
Yep, and he's a good quarterback in his own right, coming off of a pretty horrible injury, the first severe injury, the only injury in his career to keep him out of a game.
Yeah,
multiple games at that. And yeah, so the NFL world just kind of hinged on this one decision. And you and I were both just refresh. I mean, pretty much as soon as 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 Eastern hit.
Oh, yeah.
We were on it, and we were waiting. And you actually texted me first. I don't remember what I was doing, but I'd put my phone down for a little bit and came back to a text from you that said he was gone.
Yeah. Yeah, his agent tweeted. I think his agent was the first official news that came out and basically said, like, congrats to my client Kirk Cousins for signing a 4-year deal with the Falcons, which that was crazy. I was like blown away, like, oh, 4 years, like that's more than the Vikings were going to give. So obviously the Vikings, whatever negotiation they were trying to do, were beat out by that. And then a little while later, I think it was Tom Pelissero tweeted out the financials, or at least what's out there so far. 4 years, $180 million, which I think he even had a later tweet, Tom Pelissero did, that said like the total max value with like other incentives is like $188 million, but still essentially $180 million with 100 of it guaranteed. $100 million guaranteed, which is way more than I think the Vikings would have, and something me, Austin, thinks the Vikings should have given him. Like I don't think they should have gone that far. So good for Kirk. I agree with what you said earlier. Fantastic human being. Obviously a savvy businessman. Nobody should be shocked that he got such a high contract. And I mean, without a doubt, you could argue with this last point if you wanted, but it would just be because of argument. He's a good quarterback. And at the time of his injury, he was playing at an MVP type level and could have done some amazing things for the Vikings this year if given a full healthy season. But yeah, he deserves to get paid, and good for him for getting that out of the Falcons.
Yeah, I think I said this to you when you first came over a little bit ago before we started recording. And I said something to the effect of, if Kirk would have signed a similar contract to what was allegedly offered to him by the Vikings, and again, this could be totally false information, but from what we know and from some of the research we've done, 2 years, $76 million, and not fully guaranteed. was kind of the offer that was put out there by the Twitter experts anyways, who may or may not know anything.
Yeah, that's the other thing. All this stuff on Twitter, like, you never know, especially if it's not from like Adam Schefter or Tom Pelissero. If it's from anybody else, or, you know, some of those top tier reporters, Rappaport and Rossini, all those guys, if it's from like a sketchy account that doesn't have a face or a name to it, like, I don't care how many followers they have, like, you can't really trust anything you see. And then these kinds of accounts can tweet, you know, 5 days ago, they could send out 10 tweets and they could all be just a little bit different. And then, all of a sudden there's only one tweet because it's the one that was kind of similar to the news that came out. And they're saying like, oh, look, I was right. Like, you just never know. There's a lot of smoke.
There was that one tweet today that made the rounds about Kirk's neighbor who shoveled his driveway. I don't know if you saw that one.
Apparently his neighbor was told he didn't have to shovel his driveway anymore or something like that. I don't know. I didn't even see the original thing. I saw Pete Bursich tweeting, like, joking about it. Like, who can you even trust on this? Like,
right. Anyways, all of that to say, like, from what we know, maybe he was offered 2 years, $76 million and not fully guaranteed. If that truly was the Vikings offer, and this is what the Falcons offered him, it's a no-brainer.
I mean, like, the Falcons more than doubled whatever that, if that was true. Let's pretend that's true. And like you were saying, like, if Kirk had signed with the Falcons for like 2 years, $85 million or something close to that reported or rumored amount, like, absolutely, I agree with you. That would have felt like a slap in the face. Like, oh, you really did just want to leave.
It would have felt really bad. It would not have felt good. And I don't know if Kirk would have made that decision.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Kirk Cousins we know would have said, well, I've got a really good thing going here. I've got a good coach who supports me and who is on my side. He calls plays for me. I've got one of the league's best receivers. I've got one of the league's best tight ends when he gets back from injury. I've got a really good offensive line that really developed some chemistry this year despite a lot of adversity. Like, yeah, I would say if things were closer between the Falcons and the Vikings offer, we might be talking about something different right now. But because the Falcons, and we kind of knew this, the writing was on the wall, the Falcons were rumored to be like selling the farm for Kirk Cousins.
I think they kind of did. In the media, the rumor was that the Falcons owner, Arthur Blank, was kind of giving his people, his team, essentially a blank check. Like, do whatever you have to do to get Kirk in. So if that's true, seems like they did what they had to do. $100 million guaranteed, upwards of almost $200 million potential contract. Like, good for Kirk. Like, that's crazy. And me personally, I'm glad the Vikings didn't give that contract to Kirk, because I would be very concerned age-wise, health-wise. I'm sure, I mean, I don't think his Achilles is going to be much of a big deal. Paul Charchian was on Vikes Now with Dustin Baker this past week, and he basically said, like, I'm not concerned about the Achilles at all. I don't think that's a concerning thing that anybody should pay any attention to at this point, just based on what Kirk has posted and information we've seen. So I could see that, not being worried about it, but it's still like, it's not like he sprained an ankle. Like, that's a pretty massive injury. So there's some unknowns, and me, just a dude in a recliner in your basement, like, I would be kind of concerned about that if it was a $180 million contract. I don't think the Vikings are set up for that right now.
Yeah, I think, and I saw something, I think it was, gosh, I don't know. I looked at so many tweets and watched so many snippets of podcasts and stuff that were posted to Twitter today. It's kind of hard to keep them all straight. But somebody said, and I should go back and look to give credit where credit is due, but somebody said, you know, Kwesi did a good GM thing today. He drew a line in the sand. He said, this is as far as we're going to go. We're not going any farther. If this is an attractive deal to you, great. And if not, also great. Like, And I don't think Kwesi is rattled. I think he was expecting something like this. And maybe Kwesi knew even a year ago when he didn't extend Kirk that, I mean, you have to be a chess player in a position like that. And you kind of have to think multiple moves in advance. And so hopefully he was thinking about this a year ago and even 2 years ago when he took the job.
Well, and just think about Kwesi's last 2 professional stops in the NFL, in the office with San Francisco. And then I think he had 1 year with the Cleveland Browns organization. And I think that 1 year was like he was there when they made the giant move to get Deshaun Watson. So just think about the 49ers prior to 3 seasons ago. They had gone through the whole getting Jimmy G and putting a lot of money and value into that. And then when that wasn't working out, putting a lot into trading up for and drafting Trey Lance. And I might be wrong on the timeline, but I'm pretty sure Kwesi was in San Francisco when they drafted Trey Lance. Not that he was the one making those decisions, but definitely seeing what a front office looks like and
involved in the process,
and what a GM is thinking or doing when making those types of moves. So to see 2 different organizations, be a part of 2 different organizations who make massive moves with varying degrees of success at quarterback, the most important position in sports. I mean, honestly, it probably gives you a lot of experience, lets you think about what you would do if you were the one calling the shots. And I think we're definitely seeing at least some of the repercussions of that type of experience. I guess, a few weeks ago, we heard that last season in the draft, the Vikings tried to do everything they could to trade up and get Anthony Richardson. If that's true, that's another bit of experience that Kwesi has in trying to solidify the quarterback position. I'm trusting Kwesi right now, and I'll feel a lot better if sometime in the next few days we see a news report that, hey, the Vikings traded up for the 3rd overall pick or the 4th or, whatever they traded up in the draft to try to poise themselves to get a quarterback of the future. Like, I'll feel a lot better about it than I do right now. Because right now, I mean, you're looking at Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall, and that's who's on the roster as of this second, unless Sam Darnold signs, and even then, that doesn't make it so much better.
Hey, don't shortchange him. Josh Dobbs is still on the roster too.
Okay. No, his contract's about to expire. As of Wednesday, he will be a free agent.
Still there today. All right.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
I can't even wrap my mind around that. No thanks.
Do you think that I just lost my thought. Josh Dobbs distracted me.
Oh man, he's really good at that for a little bit of time, and then it just derails everything.
Yeah,
until he injures
did that for
JJ.
4 quarters.
You could argue 5 quarters
in separate games.
Yeah, most of 4 quarters. Anyways.
I don't think I'm going to get that thought back.
That's okay. I had mentioned Sam Darnold. Does that?
No, that wasn't
Jameis Winston. We did. That's the other one that the Vikings are apparently interested in right now is Jameis Winston, and you already have Nick Mullins, who's a guy that is flinging the ball left and right and getting 400 yards and throwing for a few touchdowns, but also a few interceptions. And I think that's also Jameis Winston as well. So.
I'm in agreement with you. You might as well just roll with Mullins if that's the plan.
Well, yeah, as far as if you're in the camp that the Vikings need a bridge quarterback, because right now, I think the best thing, and this is my opinion, I think the best thing they could do is, trade up and draft. And if you're thinking they need to trade up and draft, but they also need a guy with experience to start off, and then once the rookie's ready, hand it off, then I think you might as well stay with Nick Mullins because, Sam Darnold, he hasn't proven to be a starter. He's not going to be the cheapest of cheap contracts. Baker Mayfield, he signed a starting market-setting contract just yesterday, back with the Bucs for $30 million. Or no, yeah, 3 years, $100 million was his contract. He'd have to trade for somebody, but who's trading you a franchise quarterback, and if they do, that's going to cost even more than trying to move up. So yeah, I don't know who else is available. Gardner Minshew signed with the Raiders, which I would have been okay with him. But also at that point, just stick with Nick Mullins. Like, we've never seen Nick Mullins enter a season as the bona fide starter. I think he started a handful of games with the Niners when he was there. Obviously a couple games this year with the Vikings, but he's never been the guy all throughout an off season. And who knows, maybe that would work some wonders.
Is he the guy that you'd want Drake May or JJ McCarthy sitting behind for a year, learning from?
Well, I kind of think back to the year that Russell Wilson was drafted by the Seahawks. That year, before the draft, in free agency, I think it was free agency, they may have traded for him, but the Seahawks made a pretty big move to acquire Matt Flynn. And again, he may have been a free agent from the Packers, or I don't remember if they traded for him, but they gave Matt Flynn starting quarterback money in 2012, 2011, 2013, whenever it was. But then also Russell Wilson was drafted in like the third round. And in that offseason, Russell Wilson, who again was a third rounder, not the third overall pick, he progressed and was the obvious starter and started that season as a starter. Matt Flynn never got to enter the season as a starter. I think that's the ideal situation, is you get a guy who, yes, insert name here, if it's Nick Mullins or Sam Darnold, if he's QB1 when you sign him or when you make the decision, but you also have first round pick quarterback, you give that first round pick every opportunity, but less pressure because you have the guy that has the experience and isn't perfect, but is going to be your starter. And then if the rookie beats him out, that's the ideal situation. That's not something that happens every day. You don't, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. But I guess that's kind of my hope.
Are you still Drake May?
I don't have a ton of opinions on many of them. Friend of the show, Dustin Baker, he has said, I'm pretty sure Drake May is his, cream of the crop. And I think he has said, assuming Caleb Williams is drafted first overall, which I think we can say that's a foregone conclusion at this point. So if Dustin Baker is on board with that, I think influenced by Wes Johnson, he said a few weeks ago on our show that Wes is the one that kind of pointed him to Drake May. So if that's who he thinks is best, I definitely respect Dustin's opinion. But other than that, I don't really know too much about all these guys. I just want them to get up and go get a guy and have it not feel like, oh crap, now we have to get a guy. Like when Christian Ponder was drafted, I'm sure the Vikings were looking at a different guy, but they panic picked Ponder. Like, I don't want to panic pick. I want the Vikings to feel confident and know this guy is our guy. So I'm not smart enough yet on any of these guys to know this is the one that they should pick, and I'll be upset if it's anybody else. What about you? I mean, do you have a guy that's like, I want this guy?
I don't know. It's I don't watch a ton of college football, and the college football I do watch didn't involve any of these guys.
Yes.
So I don't have a lot of game film to go off of. I would probably tend to lean on Dustin and Wes's knowledge and expertise on the matter and say, yeah, Drake May would probably be my preferred pick if he's still available, and if the Vikings need to move around, trade up to go get him, sure, why not? That would seem to be a good fit. I did get to watch JJ McCarthy in the national championship and was a little underwhelmed, I think. But that's because Michigan ran the ball a ton.
Yeah.
And did so effectively, so he didn't have to do a whole lot. So he might be like number 2, and he's only number 2 solely for the fact that the one game I watched of his, he handed the ball off a lot, but didn't throw, didn't prove to be an effective quarterback. He could be a game manager, I think, just based on what I've seen, but
yeah,
I don't know. The quarterback market is an interesting place in the league right now, and the Vikings have options, which is good.
Yeah. An option that literally minutes ago became available at running back is Joe Mixon.
Oh, that's an interesting.
The Bengals just released him.
Okay.
Or are releasing him, I guess. I don't know.
He's older, though, isn't he?
27. So you could get a year or two out of him as a option at running back, but maybe not. I don't know. He is entering that bubble time where running backs start to decline. I think 27 typically for athletes tends to be like that magic year. Like they're as good as they're ever going to be at 27. So I don't know. Could be an option for a year or two. At the right price. Earlier today, I was thinking, Saquon Barkley might be an interesting option if they can get him at the right price. And holy cow, did the Eagles pay for him? I forget the exact contract, but way more than I thought a running back should get. Josh Jacobs got darn near $50 million, like $48 million from the Packers, which is probably with max incentives and stuff. But my goodness,
and both of those don't make sense to me because they had perfectly serviceable backs to begin with that they released or cut or whatever. I mean, DeAndre Swift was a good back
who was also a free agent. Like he signed with the Bears,
but
somehow the Bears negotiated, wrote up, agreed to from scratch this contract with DeAndre Swift in like 10 minutes. Like apparently they went from never talking to his agent at all to totally agreeing on this wonderful magic contract, and at like 12:12 or 11:12 they announced, DeAndre Swift's going to sign with the Bears. So that's record-breaking speed on negotiating a contract.
That's impressive.
Obviously they had been tampering or figuring out, negotiating whatever they had to beforehand, But even Josh Jacobs to the Packers, like Aaron Jones, perfectly serviceable back. I think Packers fans were actually kind of licking their chops for a minute, like thinking Jacobs and Jones would be on the roster. And then shortly after they agreed to terms with Josh Jacobs, they released Aaron Jones, who, as far as I know right now, is still available. I think he is
out there.
Time we're recording, yeah.
He's older too. I think he's 28 or 29. And
I think Jacobs is like 26, so a little bit younger. But
and maybe that was the move for those two franchises, for the Eagles and the Packers.
Yeah,
both franchises are the bane of our existence as Vikings fans. But maybe that was the move, was just get younger at the running back position, get some,
and we'll see what the Vikings do at running back too. At this point, I think you're looking more in the draft. Because if Joe Mixon's your best option, he's 27. Like, you got a year or two before he's approaching that magical age of 30 where running backs are completely washed.
The wheels just fall off and they're done. Yep.
But I guess to close it out a little bit, I wanted to ask, I threw it out on Twitter. I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite Kirk Cousins memory with the Vikings?
Do we need to like bust out the Green Day Good Riddance like Time of Our Lives song here, or the?
I don't think we can afford that.
All right. Well, I could grab my guitar and just play it.
I think they would still get us for that.
Okay.
Too.
All right. We'll avoid any copyright controversy. My favorite memory, and I responded to our tweet this afternoon. This is maybe not like all time, but definitely like the best memory in recent memory was Kirk silencing the haters against the 49ers on Monday night this past season.
That was fun.
It was kind of a crucial moment in the Vikings season. It was kind of do or die. If they lose that game, the season's kind of a wash. It was Monday night. It was against arguably the best team at the time in the league. And Kirk, for his entire career, had been kind of tagged as, unable to win in the big primetime games, can't win on Monday night. For a while, he hadn't won on Monday night. I think he won previously on Monday night. Yeah. But that was a fun game to watch. Yeah. He played lights out, and it was a game before, or 2 games before, I can't remember, he went down with his injury. But like, he was playing at such a high level. He was making great throws, and everything for the Vikings just seemed to click. in that game, and he seemed to be very much at the center of that. It was his team. And that was just, I don't know, that was fun to watch. It was a special game.
I agree. It's actually kind of funny you say that, because 2 days ago, I literally rewatched that game.
Did you?
It was, I think it's Saturday. We were kind of just hanging out at the house, and I just pulled up that game and started watching it and skipped through commercials best I could. But yeah, watched it start to end. And I was thinking, like, this was the mountaintop of the season. Sure, there were a few other like high moments, but nothing that high. Like, if you could graph the mountaintop, like the mountain range of the 2023 season, that was the peak.
And we stayed there into that next game against the Packers too.
And the next closest peak might have been that Packer game right after Josh Metellus intercepted the ball, and then I think it was in the very next play, the Vikings just came out and threw a dagger. Took a shot, and it was Kirk to Addison for Kirk's last touchdown pass as a Viking.
Addison Lambeau leaped, and it was awesome.
So, and that was the next closest peak. But I think that the culmination of that 49er game was the absolute mountaintop of the Viking season, and everything else was a little bit less exciting. So yeah, that's a good memory.
Recency bias, maybe a little bit on my part, but I don't know. It was still a really good memory. What about you?
Mine is probably also a little bit of recency bias, but I kind of chickened out a little bit, and I said just the entire 2022 season. So not this past season, but the year before. KOC's first year as the coach. A lot of close games, but a lot of fun games, and it really gave you a sense that like the Vikings could almost do no wrong. If it was getting to the end of the game and it was close, like you just felt like, oh yeah, they're going to win again, because that's what they've been doing all year. The playoff game sucked, but that wasn't on Kirk. That was not all on Kirk. The defense could have pulled their own weight a little bit against Daniel freaking Jones. But then to relive that season again in watching the quarterback series, that was a lot of fun. So that's probably my favorite memory of Kirk as a Viking, is just the 22 season. I almost said the time that Kirk won the game and then went over to the sideline and it looked like in celebration, but he grabbed the collar of Mike Zimmer, and I would pay a good sum of money to know exactly what he was saying then. But that, just seeing that and not even knowing what they were saying, that's a good memory too.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting. I think maybe another honorable mention could be it wasn't quite a Hail Mary, but it was a bomb to Adam Thielen. I think it was 2018 in the playoffs against the Saints, and it was it was the play right before
fall down catching,
right before Kyle Rudolph's alleged shove catch game winner against the Saints. Was that 18 or 19?
I think it was his second year with the Vikings.
So 18,
maybe
19. Wow.
Yeah. Well, calendar maybe January of 2019 or something. But
18-19 season.
Yeah. That's a good memory, and we might be wrong on the timeline on that, but yeah, that's
somebody on Twitter had posted that like this is the greatest Kirk Cousins moment in Vikings history.
Well, and I mean, you could argue actually, sure, as far as like production value, like that's his only playoff win as a Viking.
Yep.
So yeah, that'd be hard to disagree with, that whole last drive and game-winning drive against the Saints. I think it was January-ish of 2019, so.
Sounds right. Some other big departures, though. I mean, Kirk's not the only one leaving the Vikings.
Yeah.
Marcus Davenport.
Yeah, the Vikings might actually get a comp pick for this, depending on how things work out, because he signed something like a 1 year, 10-ish, between $10 and $11 million with the Lions. And I kind of joked, I tweeted out that it's crazy to think that the greatest player to ever wear number 0 for the Vikings is now playing for the Lions. Like,
yeah.
Like, but somebody commented back and said, like, well, now Ivan Pace is going to take that over. So I don't know if I missed something and Ivan Pace is going to switch numbers, or if that's just like assumed. I don't know enough about Ivan to know what number he wore in college. Maybe he wore that in college. So
Ivan Pace will immediately be the best player to wear that number if he switches.
If he switches, like, yeah, the second they tweet that out that he's switching numbers. Like, yep, he's in that slot as the best number 0 ever. But yeah, he is Marcus Davenport with the Lions. And you have a note here that unfortunately the Vikings will see him twice a year if he actually plays.
There's a big if there, big asterisk.
I think he ended up playing in 4 games with the Vikings, if I remember right. But the most Viking thing ever is for Marcus Davenport to actually be healthy and dominant, because he's a really good player when he's healthy and on the field.
Yep.
He proved that the very minimal time he was with the Vikings on the field. So it would be very Vikings if he was dominant and got like 10 sacks against the Vikings next year, but
which very well could happen with a possible rookie quarterback and
an offensive line that you're still looking. I mean, one big free agent that's out there right now is Dalton Reisner.
Yep.
And if you're watching us on Spotify viewing or YouTube, you may have seen me very frequently reach over to my computer and refresh Twitter. I'm waiting for that Dalton Reisner news. That's a good dude that I hope gets a requisite contract. He played very well, and I hope it's with the Vikings. I hope he gets a good deal with the Vikings. But yeah, Davenport could have an easy hole to go through with the Vikings offensive line next year.
Another big departure, probably one of the more influential guys on the defensive side of the ball, Jordan Hicks, is now a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically. I think he was actually a captain last year on the team. But even if he didn't have the C on his chest, because I can't remember for sure, he definitely seemed like a bona fide leader on the defense. I think he did really well in the Brian Flores scheme, so well that he suffered a very significant injury and was able to make it back and play at a high level again after that injury. Compartment syndrome. Yeah. But yeah, he signed with the Browns, I think, for something like north of $10 million. I don't remember if I saw it. But good for him getting a deal. It did kind of seem like one of the guys the Vikings signed earlier in the day made it seem like the Hicks, like Jordan Hicks was probably going to move on just based off age. But yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see Hicks back with the Vikings, but good for him for getting a deal elsewhere.
Yeah. So because he's gone and Danielle Hunter's still kind of hanging in the balance, that's probably another one we're sitting here at 9:25 on Monday, March 11th, just waiting for something to happen with. But I think the writing's kind of on the wall that Danielle Hunter's also probably on his way out.
I think, and I don't know anything. Again, we're just a couple of dudes. We don't have any sources or whatever, but I feel like the idea that Danielle Hunter is still, at least publicly, available might bode well for the Vikings. Like, I don't know. We haven't seen Danielle Hunter signs a 4-year, I don't know, $80 million deal with somebody else. Like, he's going to get paid, but maybe he's being patient. Maybe the league's being patient. I would imagine the Vikings have expressed an interest and maybe told him what they would offer. I hope he's back, but he's going to be expensive. So if it doesn't make sense, then I could see him not being back. The Vikings signed, to this point, they've made 3 signings of guys that were not already on the team. 2 other signings of guys that were on the team last year, and now they're re-upped. But those 3 guys that weren't on the team last year are all linebackers. Jonathan Greenard from the Texans, he got a big deal, $72 million for 4 years, 42 guaranteed. But he is that edge rusher type guy, that Danielle Hunter, Marcus Davenport position. And then another guy who is in that edge rusher type guy, Andrew Van Ginkel from the Dolphins, a fellow Iowan.
That's right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, neither did I.
Wrote that here, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, he got 2 years, $20 million, 14 of it guaranteed. And it sounds, just from Twitter, it sounds like Van Ginkel, I hope I'm saying that right, Sounds like he's a fan favorite. Like a lot of people were like, yeah, hey, Vikings fans, you're going to love this dude. It reminded me of when the Vikings signed Harrison Phillips a couple of years ago, and all the Bills fans were like, oh, dang it. Like, yeah, Vikings fans, you got a good one. Like, you're going to like this dude. So the other linebacker they signed was Blake Cashman, a Minnesota Golden Gopher, played for the Texans.
And he's a Minnesota boy, too. He's from Eden Prairie.
Yeah.
So
he's probably pretty jacked about that. The only thing I could find for his contract was that it was 3 years up to $25.5 million. I couldn't see anything, at least at the time I was putting this together, about guaranteed money. So pretty decent sized contracts, but probably aside from Grenard, I don't know how you. We'll figure out how to say
it's Grenard.
He got a pretty massive one, but the other two I think are products of the salary cap spiking up so high. So not small contracts, but not cap breakers.
They're mid-majors.
Yeah,
we're in March. It's basketball season.
So the the Grenard and the Van Ginkel signings make me think like they're at least hedging their bet on not being able to get Hunter back. Obviously, Davenport is already with another team. Oh, dang it. What's DJ Wanham? He's still recovering from injury, but he's another openly available player, so we'll see. I'd love to see him back just based off the way he was playing before he got injured. But if not, at least they're trying to fill those holes a little bit too.
And the other signings that were Vikings that are going to continue to be Vikings are Blake Brandell and David Quessenberry.
Yep. And actually I just saw like less than 10 minutes ago, Aaron Wilson tweeted out the numbers on Brandell's contract. Quessenberry sounds like he signed a 1-year, $2 million deal.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I mean, I think he's 34, 35-ish years old, getting up there. But when he came in, Quessenberry played pretty well as a step-in backup. I think he's a tackle.
You played for Brian O'Neill, didn't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, if he can keep up that level of play, that's awesome.
Did he didn't fill in at center too, did he?
I don't believe he did. I think Brandell is the inside backup.
Okay.
So that center guard type guy that steps in.
I just had my wires crossed.
Brandell sounds like he got a 3-year deal for $9.5 million with 4.75 guaranteed. So when you consider the size of the salary cap right now, which is upwards of $300 million, like for essentially $3 million a year, just over $3 million a year, that's not bad. And Brandell's a solid backup.
Yep, I would agree. I think both of those guys are good signings, good guys to keep around.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I think all the other guys on the line except for Reisner, the starters, they're all under contract.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Except for Reisner. So you got Christian Darrisaw at left tackle. I think he is entering. Is his 4th year now?
He's still on his rookie deal.
He's still on his rookie deal, but he will get. Hopefully, it's with the Vikings. He will get a massive contract within the next couple of years. Right or left guard was Reisner last year, because Ezra Cleveland, who was traded away, he got a pretty massive contract, above $25 million with the Jaguars. So good for him. I was surprised by that. I think I even tweeted out that was surprising that he got that much. But center is Garrett Bradbury, who is under contract, but apparently a cut candidate based off of cap. I feel like if we were going to see that, we would have by now, maybe, because unless they sign some massive deal with another guy and they need to clear cap space, I don't know. But I think we're already entering away from that cap casualty time frame, which I like. I like Garrett Bradbury. I was concerned about his back being healthy, but he missed a couple of games last season, but then he came back full force and was solid.
Yes. I felt like our entire offensive line, especially once Reisner really solidified his starting position, I didn't really have a lot of concern about our starters.
And even you go back down the line, right guard Ed Ingram, I think he started off rocky, but once Reisner came in and was solidified, I feel like we stopped hearing complaints about Ed Ingram too. Like something clicked for him halfway through the season or partially through the season, which is awesome. And that's what you want to see. So hopefully he can keep clicking because what was he, a second round pick? Like maybe third? That would be huge if he developed into a pretty decent starter. And then obviously right tackle was Brian O'Neill, who is starting to get up there in age. How old is he? Is he like 28 or so right now?
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, when healthy, he's had a couple of health hiccups the last couple of years. But when healthy, he is as good of any right tackle in the league. So the Vikings may have an argument for one of the most elite tackle tandems in the NFL when healthy. Yeah.
You need to pour that second one.
I do. Yeah.
And while you do, I will task you with one final question here. Can you reach it?
Yeah, I thought. The one that I was reaching for was my previous empty or your previous empty.
Don't want that one.
No.
You want the full one.
There we go. Miranda, I actually like this one the more we get into it.
So here's my question. What do you predict is the most surprising move from here on out? Obviously, the biggest domino has fallen, Kirk Cousins. And we knew that was probably going to happen whether we wanted to admit it or not. But there's still a lot of time left in free agency.
Yeah.
And the draft is coming up.
Well,
what do you think? What do you think the biggest surprising move is?
I mean, we can make up anything we would think of like a surprise. Like I think it would be a huge surprise for the Vikings to go out and trade for a starting franchise level quarterback. Couldn't even tell you who that could be. Like for all we know, Herbert from
stuff about
the Chargers might be available, but I can't imagine he'd be available, and he would cost an insane amount, but that would really surprise me. Some bubbling moves. I mean, Harrison Smith, we never know. Like he may or may not be back based off of his or the Vikings' decision. Danielle Hunter, I'll be interested to see what happens. I'd love to see him back, but I'd almost be surprised if he did come back. I don't know. Reisner, I kind of really want back. Like I'll be upset if unless he signs like a massive, massive deal with somebody else, like then good for him. But I'd like the Vikings to give him a requisite contract. I don't know. Surprising. Yeah. My biggest surprise would be if they sold the farm and traded for a starting Pro Bowl-ish caliber quarterback. That would be my surprise because I want them to trade up and I expect them to draft the quarterback of the future. What about you? Surprising moves?
Well, I just have to ask, does that tag even mean anything anymore? The Pro Bowl tag? Like, if you are a Pro Bowl player, does that mean anything?
Who's the Ravens backup? Huntley? What's his name?
Tyler Huntley?
Is it Tyler Huntley? When he made the Pro Bowl after throwing for like 200 yards in that whole season, like that's all garbage. Honestly, when Teddy Bridgewater made the Pro Bowl the year before he got devastated and injured, yeah, he was like a alternate to the alternate to the alternate. Like it almost doesn't matter anymore. It's cool. Like it is nice when you see your team gets like 8, 9, 10 Pro Bowlers. Like that's really cool. And it's crazy when guys like Harrison Smith don't make it or really good guys don't make it. Like, but it's a popularity contest, but it does still hold some weight, I guess.
Some, but not important weight. Yeah. I don't know. I think that was kind of a sidetrack.
Yeah.
My prediction is I think the Vikings might go out. This could be a horribly off the mark take, and I'm fine with that.
Hey, let's go. We're just a couple of dudes.
Doesn't matter.
We're not professionals here.
No, we're certainly not. I think the Vikings may go out and try to find a kicker, and not in the draft.
I mean, they have to. They don't have a kicker. I mean, because
Greg's contract will expire
in less than 48 hours. Like,
yep.
Yeah, he's not going to be under contract. And that would be surprising if they re-signed him because just statistically, you're easily going to be able to find a better kicker. I'm sure Greg Joseph is a good dude.
Yep.
probably gives money to charity. I don't know. Maybe
I don't have problems with
dogs.
him.
I don't know.
I don't have problems with him as a person, but he is just statistically an inefficient kicker, and he can't get the job done, and I think he needs to go. So maybe it's not even that surprising, but I don't think they bring him back. And I do think maybe they make I think Kwesi, the kicker, if you think about it, the kicker next to your other skill players can contribute points. And a lot of times games come down to field goals and extra points.
Yeah. So it can kill a game. A missed kick can lose a game.
Or it can make a game. I mean, you can win a game on a field goal. So I think Kwesi might do well to give a concerted effort to the kicker market, see who's out there, and see if he can't get on a good contract. Nothing that's going to break the bank for the Vikings, but on a good contract, find somebody who's more reliable and more consistent than Greg Joseph has been.
Yep. And it sounds like Brandon McManus, who was a free agent, is one guy off the board. Adam Schefter just tweeted that he signed with the Commanders for $3.6 million. So,
wow. Was he a former Cowboy?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I've heard his name, but I couldn't tell you his history.
But now he's a Commander.
Now a Commander.
Interesting. So. 3.6.
Yep. And official numbers have come out on Quessenberry's contract since we'd mentioned it a few minutes ago. 1 year, $1.885 million with $1.375 guaranteed. So most of his contract's guaranteed.
I can be okay with that.
Yeah, especially for a guy who at this point in his career, until he retires, he's probably going to be on this type of a 1 year, $1 to $2 million deal. But if he's solid and if he's still playing, I mean, keep him. Backup offensive linemen can also make or break a game. How many times have we seen multiple offensive linemen go down for a team and they get to the point that they're putting tight ends out there and it's not going well?
Yep.
So yeah, I'm definitely on board with that.
You got to have depth, and you got to have depth in the trenches, because those guys are going in there play after play and fighting literally to keep their team going in the right direction. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I like it. I'm okay with that for sure. Now I think Reisner, we got to get him back. We got to keep that unit together.
Yeah, I want him back because Harrison Phillips and Andrew Van Ginkel, Reisner is definitely the kind of guy that most fans, he's a good dude, at least publicly. I guess you never truly know people behind closed doors, but publicly, Reisner and the other two guys, they seem like good dudes. They do good things in the community. They've got a little bit of following on social media. People like these people. They are the Tuesday guys, for the teams when they do the public events and they go out and do Toys for Tots and stuff like that. They're the guys that are there. You like to root for those guys. And on top of that, Reisner's really good. When he stepped in, he played amazing. We were not complaining about Reisner. He never stepped on Kirk's toes. He was always the guy, we joke about it, when he ran up and shoved a player down and then did an awesome leg kick.
That was awesome.
But he had the motor to be able to run down and give an extra shove when he needed to. He's a good dude and a good player, and I want the Vikings to sign him back, darn it. Darn it, just sign him back.
Do it. Kwesi,
we want Reisner back. And again, if he doesn't, somebody's going to sign him.
Yeah. For sure.
He's going to get a good deal. And some of the deals I've been seeing for linemen have ranged from a Brendel who's getting less than $10 million for 3 years, all the way to some of the guards I'm seeing are getting $60, $70-ish million. I don't know. At some point, you got to take care of your line. The game is won and lost at the offensive and defensive lines. So get Reisner, get a defensive lineman that can actually plug the holes like Wilkins could, but not for $115 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just need to do it. Fix the team.
Well, I can almost guarantee, not almost, I think we can guarantee that we'll have more to talk about this time next week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is only the beginning. A lot of big pieces, a lot of big dominoes have fallen. Kirk should maybe get an endorsement deal with Domino's because he was the biggest Domino.
Yeah. Oh, do they have pizza ranches down in Atlanta?
Probably not.
Oh, because he's going to have to maybe cut ties with that endorsement.
Yeah.
Thing.
Anyways, this is only the beginning, the tip of the iceberg in terms of free agency and moves that all NFL teams will make between now and...
And I don't know about you. I'm not above doing like an emergency podcast. Like, let's pretend this Kirk deal didn't get announced until, after we record, a couple of days after. Like, we would have to come on and do 15-ish minutes at least on, holy cow, think about this huge deal. So I know you're on spring break this week, not to diminish anything else you're doing, but you're a little bit more free than on a normal week.
A little bit. I wish I would have contacted Big Top Ventures.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm on spring break, I wish I would have been a little more on top of the game.
That's true.
Gotten a good deal on a all-inclusive either in Mexico or Jamaica.
Where would you have gone? Mexico or Jamaica?
I probably would have stuck with Mexico.
Yeah?
Just because I think it'd have been...
Have you ever been to Mexico?
I've been across the border. So I've been like in Arizona and like walked across the border into...
It's not like Cancun or anything like that.
I haven't been to a resort in Mexico. No, but I have been... my feet have been on Mexican soil.
Interesting. Well, if you get the chance, obviously reach out to Big Top because they'll get you the best price ever. But you gotta do it, man. It's so much fun. If beer is not a prevalent thing, they have it at the all-inclusives. They definitely don't have Iowa brewed beer.
They have Corona?
Corona for sure, Dos Equis. But when you go there, you're getting the fruity umbrella drinks.
Not me. Nope.
No, come on, man. Even
Corona or Dos
the whole
Equis.
time, you can do some fruity girly drinks.
Maybe one
in Mexico. Oh, one every hour.
Daiquiri.
Yeah. So my wife and I, we went in 2021, and we're going in June. Like we're less than 100 days out, I think, from our next trip, both with Big Top Ventures, and it's so much fun, dude. It really is. And if you ever go, you have to promise, embrace the girly drinks. They're the best ones
I'll
in
have
Mexico.
one, and I will post it on our Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, I'll get ready for the drinks that I'm about to post on our social media. Yeah, it's a good time.
I'm beer, whiskey, wine.
I mean, they have whiskey and
Everything
wine-ish stuff in Mexico. You could do good old-fashioned.
That's fair.
Last time I was there, when did I go? With Big Top Ventures, I went...
2021, you said.
Well, no, so I went on a different, shorter trip with Big Top Ventures in September.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I think that was a 5-day trip, and I was drinking Tennessee sours the whole time, which it's just a whiskey sour with Jack Daniels. So you can do it, and oh my goodness, delicious, man. That's the best part: the food and the drink and the beach. That's the only reason you go.
Well, maybe next spring break, I'll have plans.
Oh, you better do it before spring break, man. You're a teacher; you got all summer off.
Well, you want to go to Mexico when it's like colder here.
That's true. That is true.
Because it's nice there and you can escape.
When we went in 21, it was the end of July and it was pretty hot.
Pretty warm.
I would get off the lounge chair and there would be my shape still soaked into the lounge chair. That's how hot it was.
I'm guessing you were a different shade than you are now, too.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a redder shade. I don't tan very well, but...
Well, it is definitely something on my radar, something that I'm hoping to take advantage of sooner rather than later.
For sure. They'll hook you up.
Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap things up for now.
Yep.
And I mean, we're going to be keeping our eyes on Twitter for the whole week, I'm sure. And we'll track everything and we'll have more updates next week when we get them. But yeah, a lot of big things happened today.
Oh yeah,
it's been a very busy
Start of
day
free agency. Yeah,
for the Vikings and for the NFL as a whole. So
yeah. What do you think of the beer? Any other enhanced thoughts?
I asked you this on our TikTok, and I know how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel. I asked you if you tasted the graham cracker because it's supposed to be a blueberry graham cracker sour, and I have yet to really taste the graham cracker.
So I've been thinking about that, and I think because we both said it's not like the like in your face vinegary like pucker sour. I think the hint of graham cracker is mellowing that like oof sour. I think it's kind of taken that edge off.
That could be
in a really good way, because really thinking about it, I think I am getting some kind of a warmer flavor. Not like, because you get the blueberry, which is a pretty prominent flavor and a good flavor, but then there's like almost that back end of like a mellower.
I can see that on the back end.
Yeah.
And it's not as powerful and strong as a typical sour.
Yeah. So I wonder if the blueberry graham smacker might taste different than like a hypothetical blueberry smacker without the graham. Like, I think we would notice more of that pucker sour flavor. So I like it. I'm definitely warming up to it, and maybe that's because it's a 6.8%er and it's like making me warm up to it. But I'm not mad about this. I really would say if like I couldn't do it. Like if you handed me a pickle jalapeno beer, I would be not saying nice things about it. But I mean, there's nothing bad about this. Blueberry, like it's
I'll
a
admit,
good flavor.
I'll admit I was a little leery about the cookies and cream nitro last week.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, me too.
Ooh, this could be bad. Do we have any emergency beer that we could try
right?
to keep our good vibes going? And no, it was good. And here we are again, going off the beaten path and just enjoying something that we wouldn't normally enjoy. But it's still good. And even if your wife was slightly vindictive and thought maybe she could pull a gotcha on us.
Yep, she didn't get us.
She didn't get us this time, so you'll have to try again. Get us something else. We'll try it.
Don't challenge her like that. She will find something.
Will she actually listen to hear the challenge?
No, she won't. She has quote unquote listened to one of our podcasts.
We're buried pretty deep into the end of the episode here.
Yeah,
so if she makes it this far, congratulations.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, that's true. We'll see. Maybe she can challenge us. Maybe that can be a summer challenge.
Well, I'm bringing the beer next week, and I think I will grab one of those no-coast nitros,
yeah,
either the coffee or the s'mores, one of the two. We'll see.
Keep it a secret for now.
I will keep it under wraps. But we'll probably continue our journey down that road with no coast.
Yeah.
And well, now that I said it, I pretty much have to do it. But
yeah, I mean,
we will. It'll be good. And we weren't disappointed last week. I don't think we'll be disappointed again.
Yeah, for sure.
So
where can people reach out to us? We want to have some fan interaction. We want to talk to you guys. What do you think of free agency?
I would say find us on Twitter. I'd say that's the best place to find us, probably where we're the most active. You're kind of in charge of all that. So the voice of our Twitter is Austin.
Sure.
But a very trustworthy voice, might I add.
Don't give me too much credit.
I've never, ever once balked at anything that you've posted there. So keep doing what you're doing.
All right.
But yeah, I would say go there. We're also pretty much anywhere else. Instagram, Facebook.
We have a website.
We do have a website.
We need to update our website a little bit, but
I'll work on that while I'm on spring break. theskolhop.com is where you can find us.
We have merch on there too.
We do, yeah. So
we have limited control on that, but there is availability.
Yep, through TeePublic, which is a kind of direct to consumer merch site. So we've got shirts. This flag was actually purchased from there, and I think you can get blankets, coffee cups.
There's some options.
There's a handful of items.
Check it out. I know there's at least one other Skol Hop shirt floating around out there, and we have one we want to give away. So we're still trying to figure out the best way to give away that shirt. But yeah, if you're interested in merch, even just clicking around, check out TeePublic. There's a link to it from a merch page on our site, and there's more available options than might immediately look like. There's some shirt and sweatshirt and stuff like that.
If you dig around a little bit, you'll find other things like tapestries and things like that. So it's good stuff. All right. Well, good beer.
Good beer. Yeah.
Good chats.
Always good chats.
And purple beer at that. It's a good color.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Kirk Cousins' time in Minnesota.
I will remember.
Wow, we might get gigged if we keep going further on that.
All right, we'll stop.
Till next time.
Skol.
Skol.
Hey Vikings fans, Evan here from the Skol Hop, and we just wanted to say thank you again so much for listening to the Skol Hop, and we also wanted to take one more opportunity to let you know that this episode of the Skol Hop has been brought to you by Big Top Ventures. If you're considering taking an all-inclusive trip to either Mexico or Jamaica, reach out to our friends at Big Top Ventures at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Once again, that's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. You can get the lowest rate possible on several all-inclusive resorts throughout the region. Big Top Ventures. Step right up to your next big adventure. And thanks again for listening to the Skol Hop. Skol.